You know, I still hear their voices sometimes. Even after all these years, the echo of my family's laughter, the smears, the dismissive shakes of their heads, they're burned into my memory like scars that refuse to fade. I was just a girl with a dream, a wild hope that I could somehow change the world through plants. But to them, it was impossible, foolish, downright embarrassing. They told me I'd fail, that I was wasting my life chasing a fantasy that would never pay off. And I believed them for a long, long time. I remember the day I told them I wanted to be an environmental bioengineer. My mother's face twisted as if I'd announced I was joining a circus. What good is that going to do? You're smarter than that, sweetheart, she said, voice thick with condescension. All that science stuff, it's just a pipe dream. You're better off finding a real job. My father scoffed. You think you're going to save the planet with some fancy plants? Dream on. You're wasting your potential. Those words, they cut deep. They called me naive. They called me irresponsible. They told me I was an embarrassment, a disgrace to the family because I dared to believe I could make a difference. I was ridiculed for every late-night tinkering in my tiny lab, for every failed experiment, for daring to imagine a future where urban skies weren't choked with smog. It's funny. When you're young, you think their words will fade, but they don't. They stay with you. They sit somewhere in your gut, whispering, "You're not enough." But inside, I knew I couldn't let their doubts define me. I poured everything into my obsession: research, failure, resilience. I abandoned the traditional path that everyone expected me to walk. I became the outsider, the crazy botanist with her wild ideas. Every setback was a blow, but I refused to give up. I remember nights when I stared at the dirt, dreaming of roots and blooms that could fight pollution, purify the air, heal the broken earth, things they laughed at as impossible. Years went by. The world was slow to listen. Governments scoffed at my proposals. Corporations dismissed my ideas as eco-ideology, and the scientific community branded me a dreamer. But I kept going. I developed bioengineered plants resistant enough to thrive in polluted environments, plants that could absorb toxins, that could transform barren city landscapes into lush, breathing lawns. And bit by painful bit, my work gained recognition, not because I sought fame, but because reality forced its hand. Today, I stand at the edge of a city that once looked like a wasteland, concrete jungles choking under gray skies, and I watch as the skyline is now dotted with vibrant green patches, towering trees, and flowering plants. Every leaf, every bloom is a testament to my relentless pursuit. I've turned what they dismissed into a revolution. My bioengineered forests now purify millions of cubic meters of air daily. The city breathes better life, returning where there was once only despair. But I knew there was one moment, one final chapter to write that would shut the doubters up forever. Today, I don't walk into my own city quietly. I walk in as a force of nature, a living proof. I step onto the porch of my childhood home, the same battered house I once dreamed in, the one where their voices still echo, and I see them gathered in the yard. My family. Their faces are older, some more bitter, some with eyes that flicker with confusion and disbelief. They've heard rumors, of course. They'd seen the news stories, the headlines about the woman who saved a city. But seeing it with their own eyes, that's different. And then I do what I've dreamed of doing all these years. I release the bioengineered plants into the yard. At first, they stare, silent, unsure. But then the plants awaken, as if responding to me. Green shoots sprout rapidly, vines curl and twine, and flowers bloom in impossible colors. Within minutes, the yard transforms. Where once was mud and concrete, now there's a living tapestry, tall trees, fragrant blossoms, lush foliage. The air shifts, cleaner, fresh, breathing. My family's jaws drop open. My mother's hand flies to her mouth. My father's eyes widen, unblinking. My sister, who once mocked my dreams, stands frozen, staring at the miracle unfolding before her. And then I speak, voice steady, voice fierce with every ounce of conviction I've had for years. You told me I was wasting my potential, that my dreams were foolish. You mocked me because I dared to believe I could make a difference. Well, look now. I didn't just dream, I built something real. Something that saves lives, that gives hope. And I did it despite your doubts, despite your shame. They're speechless. The silence hangs heavy, thick with all the words they never said, all the dismissals, all the accusations. I see the guilt flicker in their eyes, the realization settling in. They've watched me fall and then rise on my own terms. I am not a failure. I am a testament. I am the proof that persistence, passion, and belief in what's right can conquer even the deepest cynicism. As I turn to leave, I catch my mother's overwhelmed gaze. She whispers, voice trembling, "We were wrong." "No," I reply softly. "You were afraid. I was brave." I walk away from the yard, leaving behind the garden of my creation, knowing I've delivered the ultimate justice, not just to them, but to the doubts that once haunted me. I've shown the world that dreams fueled by purpose, no matter how ridiculous they seem, can change everything. Success isn't just about the plants or the city. It's about reclaiming your voice after everyone's tried to silence it. About proving that persistence and belief can turn ridicule into revolution. In the end, I didn't just grow plants. I grew hope. And that, I know, is the most beautiful bloom of all.